The distress signal pierced through the cosmic void, a desperate cry that traveled faster than light across the galaxy. It reached Earth's monitoring stations at 3:47 a.m. Pacific Time. The message was simple, transmitted in the universal language of mathematics and basic pictographs that any spacefaring civilization could understand. Commander Sarah Chun stood before the massive view screen in the United Earth Defense Force headquarters, her weathered face illuminated by the flickering data streams. She had seen many things in her 40 years of service, but this was different. The signal originated from the Kepler sector, where the peaceful Yenti civilization had established their trading colonies. "Play it again," she ordered, her voice cutting through the tension in the command center. The message repeated, showing crude drawings of ships under attack, beings fleeing, and a symbol that universally meant help. The Yenti were merchants, not warriors. Their delicate physiology made them excellent diplomats and traders, but terrible fighters. They lived on low-gravity worlds with thin atmospheres. Their bodies evolved for grace and intelligence, not combat. Lieutenant Marcus Rodriguez approached with a datapad. "Commander, the signal shows signs of interference. Someone tried to jam it." The Yenti managed to punch through using their entire planetary power grid. Sarah's jaw tightened. The Yenti were Earth's first peaceful contact when humanity emerged onto the galactic stage 50 years ago. They had warned Earth about the dangers of the galaxy, about species that saw kindness as weakness. They had shared technology, open trade routes, and, most importantly, they had been friends. "How long ago?" Sarah asked. 48 hours, Commander. If their attackers are still there." "They are," Sarah said with certainty. Whoever did this wanted to make an example. They wanted other peaceful species to see what happens when you don't submit. She turned to face the assembled officers. Each one was a veteran of Earth's colonial conflicts, survivors of a world where every creature evolved to kill or be killed. Earth was classified as a Class 12 Death World, the highest rating on the galactic danger scale. Only one in a million worlds produced sentient life that could survive such conditions. "Ladies and gentlemen," Sarah began, "the Yenti took a chance on us when the rest of the galaxy wrote us off as too dangerous, too primitive, too violent. They saw something in humanity that others didn't. Now they need us." Captain James Thompson, commander of the warship Retribution, stepped forward. His scarred face told stories of battles on a dozen worlds. "Commander, the nearest patrol ship is 3 weeks away. By the time the Galactic Council convenes and debates, the Yenti will be extinct," Sarah finished. "Which is why we're not waiting for permission." The room fell silent. What she was suggesting went against every treaty, every protocol. Earth was still a provisional member of the Galactic Council, on probation because of humanity's violent history. One wrong move could see Earth isolated, trade routes closed, technology sharing ended. "The Yenti have a population of 3 billion, Sarah continued. "Men, women, children, artists, scientists, families. They're not warriors, but they're our friends. And on Earth, we have a saying, you don't leave friends behind." She activated the holographic display, showing the Kepler sector. The attack pattern suggests the Krull Empire. They've been expanding aggressively, taking systems from species too weak to fight back. They see the Council's peace as an opportunity. The Krull were known to everyone in the room. Reptilian, aggressive, with a military culture that valued strength above all else. They had avoided Earth's sector, knowing humanity's reputation, but they had no fear of the gentle Yenti. Commander, Dr. Elena Vasquez, the chief xenobiologist, spoke up. "The Krull have technology comparable to ours. Their fleet is larger. This won't be an easy fight." Sarah smiled, and it wasn't a pleasant expression. "Doctor, when has Earth ever had an easy fight? We evolved on a world where the rain can kill you, where the smallest insect carries deadly venom, where we had to fight for every scrap of food. The Krull grew up as apex predators on a garden world. They've never faced real opposition." She pulled up the fleet roster. "I want the Retribution, the Vengeance, and the Fury ready to jump in 12 hours. Full combat loads. And I want the Nightmare Squadron. A collective intake of breath filled the room. The Nightmare Squadron was Earth's elite unit, soldiers who had volunteered for genetic modifications that made them even more dangerous than baseline humans. They were kept in cryosleep between missions because their enhanced metabolisms burned too hot for normal life. "Commander," Rodriguez said quietly, "if we deploy them, the galaxy will see what Earth's children are capable of when pushed," Sarah said. "Maybe it's time they remembered why they classified us as Deathworlders in the first place." Thompson nodded slowly. "My ship will be ready, Commander. The crew's been itching for a real fight." Sarah looked around the room at her officers. Each one bore the marks of Earth's brutal evolution. Denser bones, faster reflexes, redundant organs, the ability to survive in conditions that would kill most galactic species in minutes. But more than that, they carried Earth's legacy of protecting the weak, standing up to bullies, and never backing down from a fight. "The Yenti believe in us," she said. "They saw past our violent nature to the protectors underneath. They saw that we use our strength to defend, not just destroy. It's time to prove them right." She activated the fleet-wide communication system. "All hands, this is Commander Chun. Prepare for combat deployment. We have friends in trouble, and we're going to remind the galaxy why Earth's children are not to be trifled with." As her officers dispersed to their duties, Sarah remained at the view screen, studying the distress signal. The Yenti ambassador had once told her that humanity confused them. A species from such a dangerous world should have been conquerors, should have been the monsters in the dark. Instead, humans formed pack bonds with anything, protected the weak, and fought hardest when defending others. "You understood us better than we understood ourselves," she whispered to the signal. "Hold on, friends. The Deathworlders are coming." In the shipyards of Luna Base, 3 massive warships began their final preparations. The Retribution, a kilometer-long vessel bristling with weapons designed to crack asteroids and pierce the heaviest armor. The Vengeance, faster and more agile, equipped with stealth systems that made it nearly invisible. The Fury, a carrier that held fighter craft and drop ships, each one piloted by humans who thought dogfighting in 3 dimensions at relativistic speeds was fun. Captain Thompson stood on the bridge of the Retribution, watching his crew work with practiced efficiency. His executive officer, Commander Lisa Park, approached with a report. "Captain, all weapons systems check out. The new plasma cannons are installed and tested. The armor has been upgraded with that Yenti composite they shared with us. Ironic that we'll be using their gift to save them." Thompson nodded. "They always said that humans could turn anything into a weapon. They meant it as a gentle joke. They're about to see how right they were." In the depths of the ship, the Nightmare Squadron began to wake. The cryogenic pods hissed open, revealing men and women who had volunteered to become more than human. Their leader, Colonel David Reaper Mitchell, flexed muscles that were denser than steel cable. His enhanced eyes, capable of seeing in spectrums beyond human normal, adjusted to the light. "Mission parameters?" he asked, his voice rough from cold sleep. The technician, trying not to stare at the legendary soldier, handed him a pad. "Rescue operations, sir. The Yenti are under attack." Mitchell's expression, already hard, became granite. The Yenti had been the ones to provide medical aid after the Titan mining disaster, saving thousands of human lives when their own government had written them off. They asked for nothing in return. "Wake them all," Mitchell ordered. "Full combat prep. And tell the quartermaster we'll need triple rations. We're going to be burning hot on this one." Across Luna Base, similar scenes played out. Engineers checked and rechecked systems. Weapons officers loaded munitions designed to penetrate shields and armor. Medical teams prepared for casualties, though everyone knew that in space combat, there were usually only survivors or vacuum. But it was in the mess halls and corridors where Earth's true strength showed. Soldiers from every nation, every background, united in purpose. They told jokes, shared stories, prepared for battle with the casual efficiency of those who had evolved on a world trying to kill them. "Hey, Martinez," one soldier called out. "Remember that time you wrestled that Altarian shock beast?" "Yeah, reminded me of my ex-wife." Martinez shot back, causing laughter to ripple through the room. This was humanity's secret weapon, not just their physical capabilities or advanced weapons, but their ability to face death with humor, to bond with each other in the face of danger, to fight hardest when the stakes were highest. Dr. Vasquez made her rounds, checking on the troops. As a xenobiologist, she had studied dozens of species, and she knew what made humans unique. It wasn't just their physical durability or their technological adaptability. It was their psychology. Humans were persistence predators, evolved to chase prey until it collapsed from exhaustion. That same relentless determination applied to everything they did. Doctor, a young soldier asked, is it true what they say about the crawl? That they've never lost a ground battle? Vasquez smiled. That's true, Private. They've never lost a ground battle because they've never fought humans on the ground. They've never faced a species that gets stronger when wounded, that can track prey for days without rest, that sees broken bones as an inconvenience rather than a death sentence. The private grinned. So we're going to teach them something new? Education is important, Vasquez replied, causing more laughter. As the hours ticked down, the fleet made final preparations. The navigation computers were programmed with jump coordinates. The weapons were charged. The soldiers were briefed. Everything was ready. Sarah stood in the command center, watching the countdown. In 10 hours, they would jump. In 10 hours, they would either save the Yenti or die trying. But that was the human way. On Earth, species didn't survive by being cautious. They survived by being willing to fight, to die, to sacrifice for the pack. Commander, Rodriguez approached with a final report. The Galactic Council has sent a message. They're ordering us to stand down, to wait for official approval. Sarah didn't even look at the message. File it under received after he jumped. Oops. Rodriguez grinned. Yes, Commander. Technical difficulties. Such a shame. As the fleet prepared to jump into the unknown, to face an enemy that outnumbered them, that had every advantage except one, Sarah thought about the Yenti. They had seen something in humanity that even humans sometimes forgot. That beneath the warrior exterior, beyond the death world evolution, there beat hearts that valued friendship, loyalty, and justice. The Crawl were about to learn why Earth's children were classified as Deathworlders. Not because they were the strongest, or the fastest, or the toughest, but because they were all of those things, and they used that strength to protect those who couldn't protect themselves. The countdown reached single digits. Across 3 ships, thousands of humans prepared for war. Not for conquest, not for resources, but because somewhere in the dark, friends were calling for help. And Earth's Deathworlders always answered. The jump drive spun up, tearing holes in reality itself. 3 ships, carrying humanity's promise and fury, disappeared from Luna Base. Their destination, the Kepler sector, where the Crawl were about to learn that there are worse things in the galaxy than Deathworlders. There are Deathworlders who have something to protect. The Crawl battle fleet hung in space above Yenti Prime, like predators circling wounded prey. Admiral Scath stood on the command deck of his flagship, the Dominator, his reptilian features twisted in what passed for a smile among his species. The orbital bombardment had been continuing for 36 hours, systematic and methodical, designed to break the Yenti spirit before the ground invasion. Admiral, his tactical officer reported, Sector 7 has gone silent. No more transmissions from their capital city. Excellent, Scath hissed. Continue the bombardment. I want them to understand that resistance is pointless before we land. The galaxy needs to see what happens to those who refuse the Crawl Empire's generous protection offers. The Yenti had made a fatal mistake. They had refused to pay tribute, refused to accept Crawl advisors in their government, refused to acknowledge the natural superiority of the Crawl species. They had hidden behind the Galactic Council's protection, believing that treaties and words could protect them from the strong, taking from the weak. Sir, the communications officer interrupted, we're detecting jump signatures at the edge of the system. Scath turned, his tail swishing with interest. The Council's response force, no doubt. How many ships? 3, sir. Configuration unknown. They're not broadcasting Council identification codes. 3 ships. Scath laughed, a sound like grinding stone. The Council sends 3 ships against our fleet of 40? How insulting. But as the sensor data resolved, the laughter died in his throat. The ships were human design, their angular, brutal architecture unmistakable. Where most civilizations built ships that were functional or aesthetic, humans built ships that were weapons first and transportation second. Humans, his tactical officer breathed. Sir, those are human warships. Classification: heavy destroyer, stealth cruiser, and carrier. Scath had studied human military doctrine, as any competent military leader should. But studying and facing were two different things. Humans didn't fight like other species. They didn't follow the civilized rules of engagement that had governed galactic warfare for millennia. Open a channel, Scath ordered. Let's see if they can be reasoned with. The view screen flickered to life, revealing Commander Sarah Chun on the bridge of the Retribution. Scath had expected to see fear, uncertainty, perhaps bravado. Instead, he saw something that made his prey instincts scream warnings. Cold, calculated fury. Human Commander, Scath began, you are interfering in a legal military action. The Yenti refused our protection, and by right of strength, Admiral Scath, Sarah interrupted, her voice carrying the chill of space itself. You have one chance. Withdraw your fleet immediately. Leave the Yenti system. Never return. This offer expires in 60 seconds. Scath's crest flared in anger. You dare threaten us? We outnumber you 13-1. We are the Krull Empire. We have conquered a dozen systems. 50 seconds, Sarah continued as if he hadn't spoken. And, Admiral, those dozen systems you conquered, they were all populated by herbivores, weren't they? Species that evolved on garden worlds, who never knew real hardship, real struggle. You've been playing at war. We were born to it. Sir, the tactical officer whispered urgently. Their weapon systems are active. Energy readings are... Sir, these readings can't be correct. 40 seconds, Sarah's countdown continued. You should know, Admiral, that the Yenti are under Earth's protection. They showed us kindness when the galaxy feared us. They trusted us when others called us monsters. That makes them pack, and we protect our pack. Scath studied the human commander's face, looking for weakness, for doubt. He found none. Human faces were surprisingly expressive for predator species, and hers promised death. You're bluffing, Scath declared. The Galactic Council would never approve. 30 seconds. The Council isn't here, Admiral. We are, and we didn't ask permission to save our friends. Sir, the sensor officer's voice cracked with panic. The carrier is launching fighters. Dozens of them. And, sir, the stealth cruiser just disappeared from our screens. Sarah leaned forward slightly. 20 seconds, Admiral. You study human history? Then, you know we have a saying, no better friend, no worse enemy. The Yenti are our friends. That makes you our enemy. Choose wisely. Scath's mind raced. 3 ships against 40. It was madness. But humans were mad. They came from a world where everything tried to kill them, where survival meant being crazier than your environment. They had nuclear weapons before they had spaceflight. They poisoned their own atmosphere to achieve industry. They were insane. 10 seconds, Sarah said. Oh, and Admiral, those fighters launching? Each one is piloted by a human who thinks threading through asteroid fields at combat speed is a recreational activity. That stealth cruiser you can't see? It's already behind your formation. And this ship? We named it Retribution for a reason. All ships. Scath roared. Combat formation. Prepare to... Time's up, Sarah said simply, and cut the communication. Space erupted into violence. The human fighters struck first, moving at speeds that should have pulped their pilots. But human physiology was adapted for extremes. Their bodies evolved to handle forces that would kill most species. They wove through the crawl formation like deadly needles, their pilots whooping with joy as they pulled maneuvers that violated what the crawl thought possible. Nightmare lead to all nightmares. Colonel Mitchell's voice crackled over the combat frequency. Remember, folks, the crawl have standard shields, standard armor. They've been fighting species that play nice. Show them what Earth's children can do when we play rough. The stealth cruiser Vengeance appeared in the middle of the crawl formation, its cloaking field dropping just long enough to fire. Plasma lances designed to core asteroids struck Krall ships, punching through shields and armor like paper. Then it vanished again, leaving only destruction in its wake. Admiral Scath watched in horror as his organized fleet dissolved into chaos. His ships fired wildly, trying to track the human fighters that seemed to be everywhere and nowhere. Krall doctrine emphasized overwhelming firepower and intimidation. But how do you intimidate a species that wrestles predators for sport? Focus fire on the carrier, he ordered. It's the most vulnerable. But as his ships turned to engage the Fury, the retribution struck. Captain Thompson had positioned his ship perfectly, using the Yinti planet's gravity well to slingshot into the Krall fleet's flank. The heavy destroyer's main gun spoke, and Krall ships simply ceased to exist. "Sir, we're taking heavy casualties," the tactical officer reported. "Their weapons are, sir, they're using kinetic rounds at fractional light speed. Our shields aren't designed for that kind of impact." Of course they weren't. Galactic warfare had evolved to be civilized, using energy weapons that shields could deflect, following rules that minimize casualties. Humans didn't get the memo. Or rather, they had gotten it and laughed. On the planet below, the Yinti watched their sensors in amazement. Their gentle souls recoiled at the violence, but also felt something else: hope. The humans had come. The Deathworlders had answered their call. Elder Yinti Melodic Wind, the planetary governor, turned to her aid. "Send a signal to all our people. Tell them to take shelter. Tell them the humans are here." "Elder," the aide said softly, "the violence, it's terrible." Melodic Wind's large, gentle eyes were sad, but understanding. "Yes, but it's terrible in our defense. The humans could have stayed safe, could have let us fall. Instead, they risk everything for us. This is why we were right to befriend them. Not because they are peaceful, but because they choose who to war against." Back in space, the battle had become a slaughter. The Nightmare Squadron had boarded 3 Krall cruisers simultaneously. The Krall, who considered themselves apex warriors, found themselves facing humans who had been genetically modified to be even more dangerous than baseline. Colonel Mitchell personally led the assault on the Krall command cruiser. "Contact front," one of his soldiers called out. A squad of Krall warriors, each standing 3 meters tall with natural armor plating and claws that could rend steel, charged down the corridor. Mitchell grinned. "Finally, some exercise. Rodriguez Patel with me. The rest of you, secure the bridge." The Krall warriors stopped short as the 3 humans didn't retreat, didn't take cover, but charged to meet them. In the close confines of the ship corridor, the Krall size became a disadvantage. The humans moved like liquid death, too fast to track, too strong to stop. Mitchell ducked under a claw swipe that would have decapitated him, his enhanced muscles driving his combat knife up through the Krall's armor. Patel used the walls and ceiling as launching points, never staying still long enough to be targeted. Rodriguez simply walked through the Krall's attacks, his modified body absorbing impacts that should have shattered bone, his return strikes breaking Krall warriors like toys. In less than 30 seconds, it was over. Mitchell activated his command cruiser secure. "Having fun yet, people?" "Copy that." Nightmare 1 came to response. Nightmare 3 has secured their target. For's just playing with their food at this point. Throughout the fleet, similar scenes played out. The Krall had never faced an enemy like this. Every advantage they thought they had evaporated. Their size made them targets. Their armor wasn't designed for human weapons. Their tactics assumed an enemy that followed the same rules they did. Admiral Scath watched his fleet die around him. In 20 minutes, he had lost half his ships. The human fighters had expended their munitions and were now ramming Krall vessels, the pilots ejecting at the last second with maniacal laughter. Even in escape pods, the humans were dangerous, several managing to attach to Krall hulls and breach them with portable explosives. "Admiral," his communications officer said, voice trembling, "incoming message from the human commander." Sarah Chun appeared on the screen again. Behind her, Scath could see her crew working with terrifying efficiency. No panic, no fear, just deadly purpose. "Admiral Scath," she said calmly, "you've lost." Order your remaining ships to surrender. This doesn't have to be a total massacre. You're insane, Scath gasped. The council will do nothing, Sarah interrupted. They'll file protests. They'll have meetings. They'll express concern. And meanwhile, you'll be dead and the Yenti will be safe. That's all that matters. We are the Krull Empire. We do not surrender to. A massive impact shook his ship. The Vengeance had decloaked directly above them, its plasma lances carving deep grooves in the Dominator's hull. Admiral, Sarah's voice hardened, I'm trying to be civilized here, but my pilots are running out of ammunition and they're starting to get creative. Have you ever seen what happens when a human decides to weaponize a fusion reactor? Because Captain Martinez is about 10 seconds away from showing you. Scath looked at his displays. 3/4 of his fleet was gone or disabled. The planet below was safe, its defense satellites somehow reactivated and now targeting his ships with human-provided firing solutions. His grand invasion had become a disaster. What are you? He asked, his voice broken. Sarah's expression softened, just slightly. We're humans, Admiral. We're contradictions. We can be the kindest species in the galaxy, or the most ruthless. We build hospitals and schools with the same enthusiasm we build weapons. We'll die for strangers who show us kindness. And we'll destroy anyone who threatens those under our protection. She leaned back in her chair. The Yenti saw that in us. They chose to be our friends despite our nature. No, because of it. They knew that human friendship, once earned, is absolute. You made the mistake of attacking our friends. This is the consequence. Scath's tactical officer whispered urgently in his ear. Krull reinforcements were days away. The human ships showed no significant damage. Continuing the fight meant annihilation. Terms, he asked, the word bitter in his mouth. Unconditional surrender. Your ships will be disabled and towed to the edge of the system. Your crews will be returned to Krull space with a message for your empire. The Yenti are under Earth protection. Any future aggression against them will be met with overwhelming force. And, Admiral, this was just 3 ships. We have hundreds more, and millions of humans who would volunteer to crew them. Scath closed his eyes. The strong take from the weak. That was the way of the galaxy. But what happens when the strong meet the stronger? When predators meet super predators? When conquerors meet those who conquered their own death world? I accept your terms, he said. Each word dragged from him. Smart choice, Sarah nodded. She turned to her crew. All ships, cease fire. Begin rescue operations for any Krull survivors. Yes, you heard me right. We're not monsters. We're humans. We can choose to be better. As the guns fell silent and the debris of battle floated in space, a new signal came from Yenti Prime. Elder Melodic Wind appeared on screen, her large eyes wet with tears of relief. Commander Chun, she said, her musical voice shaking with emotion. You came. We sent our plea into the dark, hoping, praying. And you came. Of course we came, Sarah replied. You're our friends. On Earth, that means something. It means everything. The violence. Melodic Wind struggled for words. We abhor it, yet you wielded it in our defense. How do we reconcile this? You don't have to, Sarah said gently. That's our burden to bear. You create beauty, art, music. You make the galaxy worth protecting. We'll handle the protecting part. That's what friends do. They complement each other. As human ships moved to assist damaged Krull vessels, as rescue operations began, as the threat to Yenti Prime ended, the galaxy watched. The footage would spread, the story would be told. 3 human ships had destroyed a fleet of 40. Not for conquest, not for glory, but for friendship. The message was clear. Earth's Deathworlders had emerged onto the galactic stage not as conquerors, but as protectors. They offered friendship to those who would take it, protection to those who needed it, and destruction to those who threatened their pack. The strong would no longer prey on the weak with impunity. The Deathworlders were watching, and they protected their own. The Galactic Council chambers buzzed with tension 3 days after what the media had dubbed the Kepler incident. Representatives from 200 species filled the vast amphitheater, their diverse forms creating a tapestry of galactic civilization. At the center of it all, Commander Sarah Chun stood in the defendant's circle, her dress uniform immaculate, her posture relaxed despite facing potential sanctions that could isolate Earth from galactic society. Counselor Vex, a crystalline being from the Altair system, chimed its disapproval. Commander Chun, you violated 17 treaties, ignored a direct council prohibition, and engaged in unsanctioned military action. Your behavior was barbaric. Sarah waited calmly for the translator to finish. Counselor, with respect, we saved 3 billion lives. Through violence, Counselor Thyma, an aquatic species that communicated through color changes, flashed angry reds and purples. The Kral Empire has filed formal protests. They claim casualties in the thousands. The Kral Empire was conducting genocide, Sarah replied evenly. They had already killed millions of Yenti civilians. We offered them the chance to withdraw. They chose to fight. But the brutality, another counselor interjected. The reports we've received, your soldiers boarded ships and killed with primitive weapons. Your pilots used their vessels as missiles. You employed tactics that haven't been seen in civilized warfare for centuries. Effective tactics, Sarah corrected. And, Counselor, there's nothing civilized about genocide. The council chamber erupted in discussion, hundreds of voices in different languages creating a cacophony of sound. The universal translator struggled to keep up, adding to the confusion. Through it all, Sarah remained still waiting. Council Prime Ethon, an ancient being whose species had founded the Galactic Council millennia ago, raised a tendril for silence. The human representative will explain Earth's position. Sarah nodded. Honored counselors, when humanity first made contact with galactic civilization, we were told we were too violent, too dangerous, too primitive. Many of you voted against even probationary membership. You feared us. She paused, looking around the chamber. You were right, too. We are dangerous. We come from a world that tried to kill us every day. We evolved not in spite of that danger, but because of it. We are predators, yes. We are violent, yes. We are everything you feared. Murmurs rippled through the chamber, but Sarah continued. But we are also more. The Yeni saw it first. Where you saw monsters, they saw protectors. Where you saw brutality, they saw the will to defend. Where you saw primitives, they saw a species that would cross the galaxy to save a friend. She gestured to the viewing gallery where Elder Melodic Wind sat with a delegation of Yenti survivors. Ask them if they regret befriending humanity. Ask the 3 billion lives we saved if they care that we used uncivilized tactics. Counselor Vex chimed again. You speak of protection, but your actions have destabilized the entire sector. The Kral Empire is mobilizing their full fleet. Other aggressive species are watching, wondering if humans will come for them next. Good, Sarah said simply. Let them wonder. Let them fear. But let them understand the truth. We didn't attack the Kral because they were strong. We attacked them because they were attacking someone weaker. Someone under our protection. And who decides who falls under your protection? Counselor Thyma flashed concerned yellows. Will humanity set itself up as the galaxy's police force? No, Sarah shook her head. We're not conquerors. We're not rulers. We're not even peacekeepers. We're friends. And we protect our friends. But the violence is a tool, Sarah interrupted. Nothing more. You use diplomacy, trade sanctions, economic pressure. We use those too. But when they fail, when the only thing standing between genocide and survival is force, we use force. We're very, very good at it. Council Prime, Ethon's ancient voice resonated through the chamber. And if this council votes to expel humanity, to isolate your species, Sarah's expression remained calm. Then you'll lose the only species willing to stand between the peaceful and those who would prey on them. The Kral aren't the only aggressive empire out there. The Dominion is expanding in the Vega sector. The hegemony is eyeing the resource-rich worlds of the Outer Rim. You have treaties and words. They have fleets and weapons. She straightened slightly. Humanity offers a third option. Friendship backed by force. Protection backed by the will to use it. We don't ask for payment. We don't demand tribute. We just ask for the chance to prove that our nature, violent as it is, can serve good. You killed thousands, Counselor Vex accused. To save billions, Sarah countered. And, Counselor, we try to minimize casualties. We offered surrender. We rescued survivors. We could have destroyed every crawl ship, killed every soldier. We didn't. We chose restraint. That was restraint. The disbelief in Thyma's colors was evident. For humans? Yes. We could have deployed planet crackers. We could have used biological weapons. We could have turned the entire crawl fleet into radioactive dust. Instead, we used conventional weapons and tactics. We showed mercy. The chamber fell silent at that. Many species had theoretical knowledge of such weapons, but few had the will to create them, let alone use them. Humanity had developed them before they even reached space. Elder Melodic Wind stood in the gallery, her musical voice carrying clearly. May I address the council? Ethon gestured approval. Honored counselors, she began, I speak for 3 billion Yenti who live because humans answered our call. Yes, the violence was terrible. Yes, it goes against everything my people believe. But we are alive to have those beliefs because of that violence. She continued, her large eyes moving across the chamber. You fear humanity because they're dangerous. But consider this. They could have conquered the galaxy. They have the strength, the will, the capability. Instead, they offer friendship. They ask to be judged not by their capacity for violence, but by how they choose to use it. The humans have a saying, she added. The sheep may not like the sheepdog's teeth, but they sleep safely because of them. The galaxy has many sheep, honor counselors. Perhaps it's time to accept that we need sheepdogs. Counselor Vex chimed thoughtfully. And if the sheepdogs become wolves? Sarah answered before Melodic Wind could. Then, you'll be glad we taught you the difference. Wolves hunt for sport, for pleasure, for power. Sheepdogs protect. The crawl were wolves. We stop them. If we become wolves, someone will stop us. That's the balance. Council Prime Ethon raised his tendrils. The council will recess to deliberate. Commander Chun, please wait outside. Sarah saluted crisply and left the chamber. In the anteroom, she found Captain Thompson and Colonel Mitchell waiting, still in their combat uniforms. How'd it go, Commander? Thompson asked. About as expected. They're scared of us. Mitchell grinned. Good. Fear keeps everyone honest. That's not the goal, Colonel, Sarah reminded him. The goal is protection, not intimidation. With respect, Commander, sometimes they're the same thing. The Crawl attacked the Yenti because they didn't fear consequences. Now everyone knows there are consequences. Before Sarah could respond, her communicator beeped. Admiral Rodriguez's face appeared on the screen. Commander, we have a situation. 3 more species have requested defense treaties with Earth. The Melody, the Quell, and the Hathrin. All peaceful, all facing pressure from aggressive neighbors. Sarah sighed. And so it begins. The galaxy's going to test us, see if we meant what we said. What are your orders? Rodriguez asked. Start drawing up the treaties. Make it clear, we're not mercenaries. We're not conquerors. But if someone threatens our friends, she let the sentence hang. Understood, Commander. As the connection closed, Thompson shook his head. We're going to be busy. Yes, Sarah agreed. But this is what we trained for. Not conquest, not empire building, but this. Protecting those who can't protect themselves. The chamber doors opened, and a Yenti aide appeared. Commander, the council has reached a decision. Sarah re-entered the chamber to find the counselors in heated discussion. Ethon raised his tendrils for silence. Commander Chun, after much deliberation, the council has voted. By a margin of 117 to 83, Earth's probationary membership is maintained. However, there are conditions. Sarah waited. First, any future military actions must be reported to the council within 1 standard rotation. We don't require permission, but we require notification. Second, Earth must share its defensive technologies with species that request protection, enabling them to better defend themselves. Third, Earth must accept a council observer on any military mission. And if we refuse these conditions? Sarah asked. Then Earth will be isolated from galactic trade and technology sharing. Sarah considered. The conditions were reasonable, even favorable. The council was scared, but smart enough to see the benefit of having humanity as a deterrent. I'll need to consult with Earth's government, but I believe these terms are acceptable. There is one more thing, Ethan continued. The Krull Empire has agreed to pay reparations to the Yenti and has withdrawn all claims to their territory. They have also recalled their fleets from 3 other sectors where they were expanding. It seems your message was received. Sarah allowed herself a small smile. The message was never just for the Krull, Council Prime. It was for everyone. Earth's children are here. We offer friendship to those who would take it, protection to those who need it, and opposition to those who prey on the weak. And if the strong prey on the strong? Counselor Vex asked. Then we'll watch and learn. We're not interested in ruling the galaxy, Counselor. We're interested in ensuring that those who want peace can have it. Let the empires fight each other. We'll protect those who can't fight. As the session concluded and representatives began to disperse, Counselor Thyma approached Sarah privately. Commander, my people, the Aquari, we are peaceful. Our world is water. Our nature is harmony. But the depth hunters have been probing our borders, testing our defenses. Send a formal request to Earth, Sarah said quietly. We'll review it. Just like that. Just like that. But understand, Counselor, friendship with Earth means accepting what we are. We will protect you, but we will do it our way. With violence, if necessary. With extreme prejudice, if required. Can your peaceful nature accept that? Thyma's colors shifted through a complex pattern of thought. My people will have to adapt. Better to have violent friends than violent enemies. Wise choice, Sarah nodded. As she left the council chambers, Sarah was met by a crowd of representatives from smaller species, those who had lived in fear of larger neighbors, those who had no military traditions, those whom the galaxy had always seen as prey. They all had the same question. Would Earth protect them? Sarah's answer was always the same. Are you willing to be our friend? In the days that followed, Earth's diplomatic corps was overwhelmed with requests, not for trade deals or technology exchanges, but for something simpler and more profound, friendship backed by the promise of protection. The galaxy was changing. For millennia, the strong had preyed on the weak with only the Council's words as protection. Now there was another option. A species from a death world, evolved in crucible of constant danger, had chosen to use their strength to protect rather than conquer. The predators of the galaxy took notice. Where once they saw easy prey, now they saw potential human protectorates. The calculus of conquest had changed. Was it worth attacking a peaceful species if it meant facing humans? If it meant fighting a species that thought ramming ships was a valid tactic? That used boarding parties in an age of energy weapons? That would cross the galaxy to save a friend? For many, the answer was no. The threat of human intervention became a deterrent more powerful than any treaty. But for Earth, the real change was more subtle. On humanity's home world, news of the Kepler incident was met with overwhelming approval. The Yenti became household names. Children learned their musical language in schools. Yenti art and culture flourished on Earth as humans embraced their gentle friends. The message was clear to any human who might have harbored conquest ambitions. This is who we protect. This is who we are. Not conquerors, but guardians. Not emperors, but friends. Sarah stood on the observation deck of the Retribution, watching as Yenti ships departed for their homeworld, escorted by a full human battle group. Not because they expected trouble, but because Earth kept its promises. Thompson joined her. Think we bit off more than we can chew, Commander? We can't protect everyone. No, Sarah agreed. But we can protect enough. And, more importantly, we can teach them to protect themselves. Share our technologies, our tactics. Not to make them like us, but to give them the tools to stay who they are. The galaxy's going to be a different place, Thompson mused. Yes, Sarah smiled. It's going to be a place where artists can create without fear, where traders can travel without warships, where children can grow up never knowing the threat of conquest. We'll carry that burden. We'll be the monsters in the dark that keep the other monsters at bay. And if we become the monsters? Thompson asked, echoing the Council's fear. Sarah was quiet for a moment. Then, we'll trust our friends to remind us who we chose to be. The Yenti, the Melody, the others. They'll be our conscience, our reminder that strength without purpose is just brutality. As the stars stretched into lines, and the ship jumped to hyperspace, heading home, Sarah thought about the message they had sent, not just to the Crawl or the Council, but to the galaxy itself. Earth's Deathworlders had arrived. They brought violence and protection in equal measure. They offered a simple deal: be our friend, and we'll face the dark for you. Threaten our friends, and discover why humanity survived their death world. The galaxy would never be the same. In council chambers and throne rooms across known space, leaders calculated and recalculated. The age of easy conquest was over. The age of protection had begun. And somewhere in the void, 3 billion Yinti sang songs of gratitude for the Deathworlders who answered their call, who crossed the stars to save them, who proved that sometimes, just sometimes, the monsters could be heroes. The SOS had been answered, and only destruction had followed. But it was the right kind of destruction, the kind that saved lives, protected the innocent, and reminded the galaxy that there are worse things than death worlds. There are death worlds that have learned to love,